Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-0-Take, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Ooh, welcome back to the 3-0-Take, presented by SeatGeek. This is episode 374. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin, and I'm here with my co-host, Nate Reyes. Nate.
Howdy, folks. Howdy, howdy, howdy. What a hot Thursday, man.
What gives, man? It's like Satan's butthole out here.
I know.
Like,
they're everywhere.
We know it. Yeah, I was going to say, we know it's hot out there where you're at. It's like 137 at like 6 a.m. But
yeah,
we're getting heat advisories out here. What?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Me neither. I don't know.
Can you do something about that, please?
I'll see. I don't know.
All
we
right.
got aliens coming here. That's been confirmed, apparently. So
Yeah, just kind of under the radar, literally. Like
there's some wacky stuff going on.
The world's
Super hot.
melting.
Yeah.
Aliens are here to say.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet yesterday where it was just like, all these aliens are showing up because they want to know where Shohei's going next.
I saw one that was like, aliens, like, we already have one, and he's DHing and throwing every 5 days for the Angels. I was like, that's fire. I like that.
But not to be the case. Shohei Ohtani is staying with the Angels. But before we get to that, let's get to some wish list DMs, shall we?
Yeah, I like that. This is a good idea. Good call.
Yeah, I thought about it, and I realized the last couple episodes we had talked about how we get to this point in the year where the speculation is just, it's good, like it's entertaining, it's fun to kind of talk about the what ifs and what could be's, but after a while, I think we can all agree that it just gets a little old. It gets a little stale. Okay, Shohei can really only end up at these certain locations. Realistically, kind of the same thing for other guys as well, where there's only so many fits. So the speculation can only go so far for us. But we didn't really have a chance to hear from the listeners, so I figured I'd open up the DMs a little bit, get a bit of a pulse on where they're at. So. I put the post out yesterday. We got some submissions. We got some good ones in here, I will say. We got some good ones. Josh says that the Reds need to get anywhere from a third to a fifth starter, and give some prospects in return. Thinking about a guy like Lance Lynn, Paul Blackburn, guys like that, which I feel like is very realistic. Like if you're the Reds,
yeah.
Why not? Why not just add nothing? You don't need to do anything splashy,
Right?
like you were talking about last episode. No need to rock the boat. No need to shake up the vibes there.
They
too
have
much.
kind of like walked back the Jonathan India talks or rumors, I should say.
I did see that they had, I guess, officially or on the record assured him that, like, I think I read slim to none chance that he was going to be dealt. And I'm like, well, then why? How does that news even break?
Right. And it was an odd amount of time that had passed. It was like 4 days after that rumor came out. You would think that would be a quicker, like, no, wrong.
Yeah, like, hey, Jonathan India is available. Oh, we didn't get anything we liked. Hey, you're not going anywhere, buddy. You're one of us.
That's rocking the boat, dude. That's just shaking up the clubhouse when it doesn't need to be shaken up. You got the good things going. So yeah, a 3 to 5 starter. That's a realistic wish list by Josh. Good for him. I feel like that's not just a hat rack for Josh. You know what I mean?
I intentionally wanted to lead off with that because I was like, let's start with some reason today.
Yeah.
George says, kind of like you just said, not hat rack, realistic. He gave both, which I liked. He said wishful, would love for the Yankees to get Soto and Hader. Hopeful, Flaherty or Giolito. This was obviously posted before the Giolito trade, but Flaherty's still available. Adam says he wants the Orioles to get Stroman. I can't remember. Did any three of us Well, I had him going to the Astros, and you had Snell going to the Orioles.
Yeah.
Was there any mention of Stroman with Ryan, or in that conversation that we had with Ryan, any mention of Stroman being a fit for the O's?
I don't think so.
How do we feel about Stroman to the O's?
I don't hate it. I'm okay with it.
I feel like he would fit well there.
Yeah. They do need some arms. I think. Yeah, I know Ryan was saying like bullpen stuff, which I think Hader could still possibly be in play. But imagine that move. You get Snell and Hader. That makes you favorites in the AL. Like
for
by
sure.
A landslide.
Without a doubt. He mentioned Hicks, right? Or was that you? I think he said
Jordan
Hicks.
That's what it was
Yeah.
for him. Jordan Hicks, yeah. Not a super like sexy move, but I think it would be like a very under the radar solid move. I think they were saying, he was saying, and I saw an article that was saying like they really are not good handing over a lead in like the 5th or 6th inning, 7th inning. Those middle innings are a struggle for them. So
yeah.
But with the argument is if you add to starting pitching, you add a Stroman, you add a Snell, then maybe move a guy into the bullpen to be a middle relief guy. Or now you're talking about guys that are used to going deeper into games. So kind of solves both issues. I would go with a starter if I was the Orioles GM.
Agreed. Murray says Bednard from Pittsburgh to the Dodgers. He said, we need a bullpen. Also, maybe even Stroman.
Obvious fit for Stroman in LA for sure. There's just something that it just makes sense there. I like Bednar too.
The last I checked, how are they doing it out there in LA right now in the back end? Is it closer by committee, or are they still working with
Evan Phillips? Evan Phillips, I know, got some saves.
Yeah, I feel like they've bounced around a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they have. I think they've kind of rotated through guys.
So they could benefit from a guy like Bednar. I mean, anybody could benefit from a guy like Bednar, but
yeah,
Dodgers especially. Ralph says, got what I've always wanted. Enrique is gone back to the dumpster he came from.
This is all you, bro.
All I'm going to say is seeing this move happen, it takes a big man to admit his mistake.
And I am that big man.
Attaboy. But I'm not the man in question here. Chaim Bloom, recognizing that this experiment with Kiké at short did not work out. You've got Trevor Story coming, and we'll get into this when we go a little more in depth on some of these trades from the last couple of days. But you got Trevor Story coming back. It's a good fit for LA, needing some right-handed help in the outfield. Being able to kind of slide him out rather than DFA him, it did a little something for me. I was like, okay, it's well documented how I view this team, or how I viewed this team coming into the season, and at least for like the first half. But this was a big step. So this combined with the sweep of the Braves, I'm in a very good place right now.
That's fair.
I'm in a very good place right now. It took a series against the Braves where just all things were clicking for me to,
it's understandable.
I might be back a little bit.
Yeah. Ralph, I saw his story too. We'll dig into it. I don't fully understand the Kiké hate, but
dude hates Kiké.
Yeah.
He has said before that he has the most punchable face in baseball.
Whoa.
And if you don't know Ralph, go check out our vlog from the World Baseball Classic. He's in there, the Sunday League podcast. You'll know who we're talking about. Also, just a plug for our World Baseball Classic vlog.
True.
Cody says Kiké and Jock back on the Dodgers. Well,
got one of them.
Jacob says Braves to get Giolito, Cease, or Duvall. Giolito's out. Cease still available. I don't know, dude. I with this series that they just pulled off, I don't know if the Red Sox are looking to do anything now. They have the best, last I checked, best record in baseball since June 30th. Almost a month now. Mm-hmm. They're playing fantastic. They're not losing in these yellow jerseys. Vibes are high. I don't know if Duvall gets sent out.
Yeah, I have heard those rumors though of Duvall being back in Atlanta with the reunion. But I also read that I don't think the White Sox are like budging at all on Dylan Cease. I don't think there's any
price tag's just too high.
Yeah, dude. I read a tweet that it was like every response has been just quote unquote no. So there you go.
Yeah, so I mean, of those three, obviously Giolito out, Cease, price tag is too high. Of the three, Duvall would be the most likely because as much as I don't think it would make sense for the Red Sox to really make any moves that would have guys leaving outside of Kiké, of course, because it's too much of a logjam. You could make the same argument for a guy like Duvall because, I mean, you got Yoshida, you got Verdugo, and if you slide Duvall out and you get something in return, they can help you out down the road. At least in the short term, you can give the nod to a guy like Jarren Duran, who's been playing very well. And that way you kind of solidify that element of your lineup a little bit. So
yeah,
just something to consider. Chris says Giants to get Tim Anderson.
Are they needing a shortstop?
I was of the belief that I thought TA would have been a good fit in LA, but that was just me. I think the
Dodgers did a better job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be completely honest, it's hard for me. I don't know what it is about the Giants. It's hard for me to dive deep. It's hard for me to pay attention to them. They bore me. They're boring. I'm not excited at all about the Giants. When I watch Giants games, I'm like, this is boring.
I mean, it goes back to when they had the 100+ win. When was that? 2 years ago at this point?
Yeah.
Was that 21?
I think so.
No, was that last
year? I think it was last year.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that. Like, they're winning seemingly 4 out of every 5 games, and then you got guys like Darren Ruff leading the charge, and I think you were quoted on here saying, like, it's just a bunch of grandpas who go out there, mash baseballs, and beat you into the ground. Like,
it's a bunch of like substitute PE teachers.
and sure that the dynamics changed a little bit since that particular team, but like the vibe still remains the same. Where it's just like this isn't an exciting.
It's not.
This doesn't do anything.
They get dubs. Like I can't fault them for getting dubs, but. It's hard for me to pay attention. So, like, I don't know if they need a shortstop. I don't know if, like, I don't know what it is that they're needing. I'm sorry. I know they have 18 outfielders, so they could probably use a couple extra infielders. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't need outfield. We know that much. Brian says would love for the Orioles to trade for Blake Snell.
Sweet.
I think we both agree there. Austin says Dylan Cease to the Braves. Give them Vaughn Grissom, Ozuna, and a pack of gum.
Don't see the White Sox taking on Ozuna.
Yeah, and if the price tag is as high as for Cease as it
Cease is under control. Yeah, you're gonna need like 3 prospects.
Yeah, and I don't know if a pack of gum is really sweetening the deal too much there.
Yeah. Braves fans are just spoiled with like really good deals. So I don't think they understand that it's going to take more than that. Although Von Grissom would be sweet. You know, I'm sure they'd be happy about that.
Yeah,
especially if TA goes.
Braves fans are looking around going, oh, like a pack of gum isn't a reasonable like currency for trading, for bartering.
It's Orbit.
But wait, it's Orbit. They're unbelievably spoiled. And lastly here, Shia says Braves to get Bellinger and Hader.
I don't hate that. They're needing a left fielder that much? Like, it's that bad?
For me, it doesn't matter where Bellinger ends up. I'm just excited to see how much and how quickly of an impact he's going to make. Because the guy
doesn't stop hitting home runs.
The guy is going off right now.
Yeah.
And if you watch it, and this may not make sense if you're listening, but to me, in my head, it makes sense. If you watch him, he's hitting in a way that to me would not lend to any fear of a change of scenery affecting it or slowing that momentum. There's certain guys where you're like, it's a question mark. Right. It's a question mark if leaving his current environment, his current setting, if that would have an impact. The way he's swinging it right now, I don't think it matters. And that's good news for the Cubs. That's good news for people that are interested in, or teams that are interested in snagging him.
The asking price is high. So,
as it should be.
I don't know. I've heard some Braves fans feel like they're not super happy or satisfied with what they're able to offer. Like, their farm is not what it was. You'd have to give up. You're wiping out your farm to go get both of those guys, Hader and Belly.
Yeah.
But I don't hate it. That'd be absurd. That's an absurd lineup. That's a stupid lineup.
I don't think we made like updated World Series predictions or like wishful thinking, but at this point, give me Braves Orioles.
I'm all for it.
That would be an electric World Series,
dude.
Wow.
Huge.
Wow. You want to talk about growing baseball? Talk about the young talent. Ooh, love that. Plus possible trades that have yet to happen that could be coming down the pipe. Speaking of which, I didn't even throw out my disclaimer at the start of the episode. We are like smack dab in the middle of like, hey, take what you hear on this episode with a grain of salt kind of deal. Like we're right in the middle of that type of season.
Yeah.
So everything we talk about
in 20 minutes.
For sure. So it's possible that while we're recording,
it's definitely coming right after. The second this gets released, there's something coming. Historically,
it does follow within 3 minutes and 27 seconds.
Yeah.
Right around there. So if we miss a big deal, just know that we'll talk about it on the next episode. But just wanted to put that disclaimer out there so people don't think we're idiots. Or that we live under a rock. Let's get into the big news of the last 24 hours. The Angels are not trading Shohei Ohtani. The Angels are going for it. And I gotta say, I like it. I like it a lot.
I kind of do too.
I like it a lot.
I mean, we were in on them at the beginning of the year. Like, we were in on like what they're doing, and
we were. There was no Angel slander. We weren't like rah, but at the same time, we were like, okay, we're gonna give them a fair shake here. We're gonna see what they can do. And after seeing the World Baseball Classic, we're like, all right, maybe this is the year Trout like takes it to an even different level now. Mm-hmm. Hasn't been the case necessarily, but Shohei has certainly picked up the slack and then some.
Yeah.
And they're what? At this point in time, 4 games out of the wild card spot?
Right there. It's right there. Without Trout.
You know, if it's safe to assume that the prospect, it's beyond safe to assume that the prospects or the haul that you would get back for Shohei would pan out. But there's always a but, because it's baseball and anything can happen in baseball. There is always the possibility that the haul that you get back maybe doesn't pan out. So if you're going to go for it, if internally you're looking at this going and you're behind closed doors in the front office and you're going, okay, there's probably not a realistic chance we get this guy back in the offseason. Let's give this thing one more go with him wearing our jersey and just roll the dice and see what can happen.
I think this is somewhat of a pitch to him, to his camp. You know what I mean? It is somewhat of like you get in this fall, you get into the winter and you're like, hey, like, look what we did. You know what I mean? Like, we did make moves to try and make this happen. We are willing to do things to support you. And I know there's probably a lot of Angels fans out there that are like, too little, too late. You know what I mean? I saw a response to the move that was like, now we decide to move prospects. I like what they're doing. Like, can you blame them? You know what I mean? And they've played hot. They are getting production from different guys. They moved. I think like an underrated move was you go get an Eduardo Escobar, like a veteran stick, a veteran infielder. You got guys that are coming up and making plays and like doing stuff. It's just, I don't know. It feels good. It feels right. It feels like, as baseball fans, we've been begging to get Trout into the postseason, been begging to get Ohtani into the postseason. And I think a lot of us were like, okay, fine. The only way that's going to happen is if Ohtani plays somewhere else. But you're going to add, Trout is going to be like a second trade deadline pickup for them, which I'm assuming is coming like September range, right? Late August, early September. So if they're able to add maybe another arm or another bat, one more piece, and then they just go for it, you got to expect this to just kind of ignite something and say like, hey, Shohei, stay here. If he wants to stay. So I don't know. I'm less in the camp of, I don't think they have a chance to get him in the offseason. I don't think they have a chance to get him long term. I'm less in that camp. I'm starting to edge out of that camp. I'm starting to feel like, okay, if you're willing to make these moves, there's more to be done. You need to prove it. We need good baseball. Obviously, that's going to solve a lot of issues.
Yeah.
We need good baseball down the stretch. We, as far as Angels fans go, would love to see them get into the postseason and really go for it. So I like it. I'm here for it.
The report said that he wanted to stay. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I don't know who that's coming from, who that's being leaked by, or whether or not he genuinely feels that way. I don't know. But I think two things. One, you can't be done. Like, you still have more to do before August 1st. That's a given.
Right.
Like, if you're gonna publicly announce and pull Shohei off the trade table, you have to do more than Lucas Giolito.
Yeah. They I'm hearing Candelario rumors.
I saw that.
Which like may not be the biggest household name, but I think that would be really good.
No, but that's like and I know I use this example every time, but that's like an Eddie Rosario type thing where it's like, sure, it's not going to be the sexiest move of acquisition history, but if it gives you that little boosted value in a vital situation or a pivotal moment, whether it's during the regular season or even come October, then it was worth everything that you gave up for it.
Am I crazy, staying on Candelario, am I crazy for thinking eat some of that Rendon contract, include him with prospects for Candelario. A little bit of a reunion in DC for Rendon. Sells jerseys, gets butts in seats.
I don't know. I mean, I would.
You got to eat a lot of that contract, though.
Sure. And like, yeah, it's a reunion, but it's not like a Kiké going back to LA kind of reunion where vibes are already high. Like for that, it's just like, oh, I'm familiar with where I can get my sodas in the clubhouse. Like, and that's about it because there's nothing really. Sure. Yeah. I mean, they got some exciting pieces there, but nothing. You might see a bump in jersey sales and that's about it. But
what else do the Nats have going? They got nothing else going for them. Bring back a familiar name.
No, but that's my point. Like it's not going to be this like big grand like thing. Like it'd be cool and all, and it would be a smart baseball move for sure. But like for Rendon at least, that's like, oh cool, good to be home. But yeah, I mean to your point, if you can find a way to ship him out, I mean, do it because that's been a bust. I had high hopes for Rendon coming into this year. I really did.
Same.
But the second point I was going to make is more so directed towards Angels fans. Angels fans, we got to let the Artie Moreno stuff go. Like, we really got to dial it in here. We really got to buckle up for this stretch because assuming everything pans out the way the front office is saying, if Shohei is not getting traded, they're going to make these. I mean, at this point, Shohei's not getting traded because they've already went out and got a guy like Giolito and Ronaldo, but you can't focus on the negative. You just can't. Like we gotta dial it in. We gotta focus on what's right here in front of us. And I say us, I'm not an Angels fan, but I'll be a bandwagon if that's what it takes to get the train moving. You have an opportunity here to make potentially one final push with Shohei on your team. Don't blow it spending and exerting all of your energy on talking about how much you hate ownership and the front office. Like you're going to have to set that aside. That's all I got.
At a certain point, I mean, we've talked about this with other teams. At a certain point, you have to look at the on-field product. I understand the frustration. I understand like the lack of pitching. That's been an issue for a long time. They're making moves. They're doing stuff. They're doing what you're asking. And like you would sit there and complain if they either traded him or being 4 games out of the wild card spot, not going for it. Angels fans would complain about that too. I don't think this would have been an issue if Moreno or Artie was like, he said it a couple months ago. I want to sell. Right. And then he backpedaled and like, no, I'm staying. I don't think that was going to be a problem unless that came out. So I don't know, dude. It's just like, I understand it's a weird situation, but like, what do you want from them? What do you want from the front office? They're getting pieces. Like the Trout injuries, that's not on them. The Rendon injuries, it's not on them. I understand maybe being bad at drafting.
And maybe handing out contracts, but
for sure.
That's beside the point.
For sure. But like, if you go back, we can always play Monday morning quarterback. If you go back and you look at a Josh Hamilton, you look at a Mike Trout, you look at Anthony Rendon. If you look at what they were before, I wouldn't argue against those contracts. They've just been bitten a few times, and I'm sure that gets tiring. I get that. I definitely get that. If you're an Angels fan, you got to be sick of it. But like, what do you want from them? They're doing what other teams would kill for. Royals, Tigers, Pirates, Nationals, like teams that fan bases would be like, please just do something. You're anemic. The Angels are doing that. At what point are we just going to turn and be like, all right, all the pieces are in place. Now you go. Now you play. Now you win.
I think we get to that point. I think Angels fans get to that point with a couple more moves at the deadline. They say,
sure.
okay.
You got to feel good. Like it's
you
here.
gotta, yeah, you got to look around and go, it's not perfect, but this is as good as it's going to get. And it's a lot better than where we were at the start of the season or maybe even last year.
Yeah.
So
how do you feel? How do you feel? Let's talk Giolito now. How do you feel about him sliding into the rotation?
I mean, I certainly wasn't disappointed for the Angels organization when I saw that notification come through. I think this is a great acquisition, and I think the timing of it was huge. Like, I think the fact that they come out and say, and on one day, they come out and say, we're not trading Shohei. And then that evening, you go out and get Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez. Yeah. I think that's huge. I think that shows, one, I think it shows Shohei that, like, you're serious about this. I think the immediacy of it really emphasizes your conviction, your commitment to keeping Shohei. Because if you say that and then you wait it out and then you make a couple uninspiring moves as the clock's expiring, that doesn't really do much to instill any sort of confidence in you, in Shohei, in the rest of your team and your fans. So the immediacy of it, I think, was huge. And I mean, Giolito's Giolito. I think he's gonna fare very well out there. And then getting Lopez, look, the pitching is just not good out there. And I think adding both of them helps your rotation and it helps your bullpen, both of which needed help. And you're not getting schmucks. You're getting guys that can make an immediate impact. And if you're able to squeak in, which is a tall ask given the teams ahead of you right now, those guys have the potential to be difference makers in a 5-game series, 7-game series.
I mean, look, like we were talking about a few weeks ago, the Carlos Estevez closing games down and like decent amount of saves this year. We were talking about how he could be a piece elsewhere. So obviously they're okay at the closer role. Maybe one more bullpen arm, but the rotation, like obviously Shohei leading it. You slide Giolito into 2, Patrick Sandoval at 3. Tyler Anderson looks like he's had a decent year, like a year that of a 4 or 5 starter that gets it done. So it's getting there. I feel like it's getting there. And I'm okay with it. Giolito, I was a little surprised. Were you surprised when that came out? I mean, I don't think anyone was really. We talked about a lot of different teams. I don't think anyone really mentioned the Angels.
I mean, I was a little surprised, and I think the big thing surrounding this move was the prospects they gave up to pull this deal off. But the way I see it, look, you're rolling the biggest set of dice. You're taking the largest risk that you could possibly take by saying that you're going to hold on to Shohei, running the risk of letting him walk with nothing to show for it. So if you're willing to do that, giving up a couple prospects to maybe, reinforce the on-field product that you have to kind of build it up a little bit better for this home stretch. Yeah. That's nothing to me. Like, we talk about it all the time. If you're in a position to win, and I know this is short-sighted and a lot of people don't like this approach, but I'm of the belief that this is what fans want, regardless of the outcome. If you can at least give fans this, you're in a better spot. If you're in a position to win and you make the moves necessary to put yourself in the best position to win, then you do it. Prospects are just that. They're prospects. We've talked about this countless times. You don't fully, you can have all the data, you can have all the analysis you want on these guys, but at the end of the day, you don't know how they're going to fare when it comes time for them to come up for their cup of coffee. You just don't. So if you can add a guy like Lucas Giolito and supplement the Shohei news, give up what you got to give up. As long as you're not just burning the entire farm down for like a mid-tier guy, that's fine. But like, and I know they're good. I know they're highly ranked. I understand that. But like, if this is what you're going for, if this is going to be your last hurrah potentially, then do what you got to do.
Comes down in the scouting department for sure. And I think that's like one thing that the average baseball fan forgets with this is the understanding and because like you look at the other side of the spectrum with Cardinals, right? Like having Randy Arozarena, having Adolis Garcia, and moving on from guys like that. And that's where like you can be frustrated about your scouting department being like, dude, we had them. We had guys. We had big guys. And you didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
Then I understand that. And that's probably coming down to evaluating, right? But at the same time, you're right. Like they're trade chips. And you gotta go for, if you're in a position to go now, you gotta go now. And this is like, for me as a frustrated Yankee fan, like we've hoarded prospects for years and they don't turn out to be anything. And then you're back to square one. And you could have plugged that hole with a trade, but you didn't. So I'm okay with it. I'm definitely okay with it. I got a little nugget for you about Lucas Giolito, by the way. Man, this trade's still crazy to me. Go back to the 2016 trade when the Nationals moved him. We remember it was for Adam Eaton, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guess who else was in that trade? On the National side.
I feel like I know this. Who was it?
Dane Dunning, which is big name for the Rangers this year, kind of breakout season for the Rangers this year, and Reynaldo Lopez.
Wow.
Isn't that funny?
Funny enough.
Yeah. So, overall, good move. White Sox. Curious to see what these guys are. They get back, you know.
We shall see.
We shall see. I did dive into a little bit of these names. I hope I'm saying this right. Edgar Quero. I don't want to go Quero. That just makes me
sounds right.
Quero. Queso. Edgar Queso. It's basically queso with an R instead of an S. Number 2 prospect in the Angels organization, 65 overall in baseball. 20-year-old catcher, switch hitter. Interesting. Could be something there. Not great this year, 718 OPS in AA. But last year, 111 games last year in AA. 17 jacks, 75 RBIs, and 965 OPS. Dude can swing it. So that could be a little something. Kai Bush was the other name. Big old lefty. I think he's 6'6", 240. Big boy. Number 3 overall prospects for the Angels. Not ranked in the top 100 across MLB prospects, but second round pick back in 2021. And struggling this year, but he's only had 8 starts, so it's like not much of a sample size, but a 3.67 ERA last year in 21 starts. So good for the White Sox, I think. Those are good names, but again, it's like it's just funny how stuff changes. You know what I mean? Like I remember back in 2014, 2015, the Nationals were in love with Lucas Giolito. In love. They thought he was the greatest thing. And having Giolito and Strasburg together in the rotation, like it's just funny how things eventually pan out. And not that Giolito isn't great, but I don't think he's a top 10 starter right now. I think he's flirted with being a top 10 starter in the league, but he's not in that ranks. So you're right, man. Like going back to the argument with prospects, you hold them tight and you fall in love with them, and GMs are the ones that put in the work and pay attention and then draft them and trade for them, and like they're protecting them. But at a certain point, like you got to go. So good for the Angels to two top 5 prospects in their farm.
Yeah, my whole thing with the prospects, and last thing I'll say, because we gotta get going, but nobody ever really knows, and like they make movies about this, how it's so difficult to evaluate young talent. If it was so easy and everybody knew, and we didn't have to do the Monday quarterback thing or Monday morning quarterback, and we could just sit here and perfectly pick out which prospects would pan out, which ones aren't. If it was that easy, then Mike Trout wouldn't have been drafted 25th overall in the first round. That's entirely my point. So to have young talent and to hold on so tightly to that, to where you just assume they're going to pan out and forego the opportunity to win now if you're in a position to do so, I think is silly, because prospects are prospects. Kiké Hernandez, we touched on a little bit, heading back to LA. Red Sox get Nick Robertson and Justin Hagenman, 2 right-handed relievers. They also agree to pay $2.5 million of the about $3.5 million remaining on his contract. So Kiké reuniting out there in LA, already loving life. I'm sure. Did you see the video of him?
Oh yeah,
in the dugout?
Yeah.
I hate the number switch though. Like, I know when you leave, you obviously.
He was wearing 14 over there.
Yeah, you hand off your number, obviously, but you always love if a guy comes back for him to get that number back, but not to be, and not of really any importance there, but just a
At least he switched to. I mean, switching to 8 isn't a terrible switch.
8 carries a lot of weight out there in LA with Kobe, and
yeah,
I mean that's a big deal.
Yeah.
They're doing a Kobe jersey giveaway out there. I thought that was pretty sweet too.
It's just odd to me that like Red Sox fans are rejoicing that he's
the guy
gone.
sucked, dude. He was so bad.
But like, why are Dodgers fans so excited? Like, I get that he's been there and he's been a part of like,
because they didn't see,
things.
They didn't have to watch night in and night out. If they did, they may feel a little differently. But also, I was reading, I think they're talking to Dave Roberts, and this was like immediately after the trade, I believe, and they're of the thought that working with their hitting coaches out there, he said that they've already identified some mechanical issues that they think, if fixed and corrected, that maybe he could return to form that he displayed when he was out there originally. So, we'll see.
I'm not seeing anyone with jersey number 14, by the way.
The guy was terrible in the field. I don't know. It's been a minute since I checked, but he was leading shortstops and possibly all of baseball in errors there for a minute. So
yeah.
Again,
but he's not going to be playing shortstop though.
No. But with Trevor Story coming back, this move made great sense, and it brings the Sox into my good graces a little bit.
The fact that you guys got something for him is probably a job well done.
Correct. Jorge Lopez, I'm not going to lie, when I saw this news break, I thought it was Pablo.
Oh, so you got excited?
I was like, wow, the Marlins realized I don't want to call it an error, but they were like, maybe that trade was like kind of weird. We gave up Pablo Lopez, who was good for us, to get Luis Arias, who's also been good for us. Maybe we can go out and get Pablo Lopez back. And it turned out not to be Pablo Lopez. In fact, it was Jorge Lopez. But that's just that's where my head was when that news broke. But it was a 1-for-1 swap of relief pitchers. Marlins get Jorge Lopez. The Twins get Dylan Floro.
Yeah, I think it was just like, hey, both guys have been pretty below average. You want to switch it up.
A little change of scenery. I like it for the Marlins.
I like it more for the Marlins than I do for the Twins.
Yeah.
But there had to have been something there. There had to have been some kind of disconnect. Like maybe Jorge Lopez just didn't agree with philosophies out there or something.
I can tell you why there was a disconnect. He was playing in Minnesota.
Yeah.
How many times do we have to say it?
Miserable.
That's where careers go to die.
It's true.
I would hate playing that. I would pitch poorly on purpose if I got dealt to the Twins so that I could then come back. Like if the Marlins reached out to him and were like, yo, like, are you good? Like,
Could be happening.
Are your mentals good? He's probably on the phone going, is this on a secure line? Reality is I'm fine. I'm still an all-star caliber pitcher. I feel better than I have now than I have in my entire life. Just get me to Miami and I'll show you what I'm capable of. I just got to get out of this dump. That's what happened.
I like that. That adds
call
up.
it tampering or whatever. That's what happened.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Bro was dominant in Baltimore. So, like, it's in there. I don't know much about Dylan Floro, but I haven't seen like that kind of production from him yet. So,
yeah, I
like the move.
I like it. I think if he can tap into what he had in Baltimore, which as my demonstration just played out, you can assume that he's going to be able to channel that Baltimore, because now that he's out of Minnesota, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
But just another move that I like of these teams that are kind of on the fringe. To me, you could make like you said, both have been kind of middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, this move shows me that the Marlins are at least interested in taking a step forward at the deadline as opposed to taking a step back.
Yeah.
And I think this could be one of those very tiny, like, supplemental moves that if they are able to make a bigger splash closer to August 1st, that on the other side, this collection of moves will actually look pretty impressive.
I don't see a splash coming from them. Like I think
no, just something bigger than Jorge Lopez. That's
I can
all
see like TA going there. Just another one of those moves,
I mean, that's
hey, he's been struggling, but like here's somebody else that's struggling. Just do it.
Yeah, but even a guy like TA, like I guess that's a big enough splash for me to be impressed
cool
with
that.
what the Marlins are trying to do.
Yeah. I'm cool with that.
We'll see what happens. Speaking of shortstop, Ahmed Rosario heading to the Dodgers. In return, the Guardians pick up or acquire Noah Syndergaard.
Are we all done with Noah?
I'm done.
It's just all done, right?
People listening can correct me if I miss, like, speaking out of turn here, but I'm pretty sure the last time we brought up Noah Syndergaard, I was out, so nothing's really changed.
Yeah. I don't love the move for the Guardians.
No, not at all. It doesn't make sense.
I feel like you could have got more elsewhere. Job well done by the Dodgers, who have like proven that they can resurrect careers. Not that like Ahmed Rosario has fallen off that much, but look at Jason Hayward. The man is alive and thriving.
I mean, we're not missing anything, right? It was a 1-for-1.
It was a 1-for-1, I believe. Yeah.
That makes no sense. Guardians, what are you doing?
I don't get it. Odd. Really, really odd.
I mean, maybe they think they've got the key to the resurrection of Noah's career. I'm so over that. He's just it's how loud he is. I think that's what bugs me the most. He's so loud. His shirt is never on when he's putting stuff on social media, and he's not good. So, like, and that tells you how not good he is. The Dodgers need starting pitching. Yeah.
And they're like, actually, you're trash. Move along.
I mean, not to like compare this to fantasy baseball, but like for those people that play fantasy baseball, You know what it's like. You know what it's like to do what the Dodgers just did. You're like,
I wouldn't accept that trade in fantasy baseball.
No. I'm not saying the trade
for Ahmed Rosario. I wouldn't even accept that.
No. I'm not saying like the trade. I'm just saying looking at Noah Syndergaard. Like if you say in fantasy, if you were to drop him, you're like, man, my lineup's pretty solid. I really need some pitching. I've got Noah Syndergaard, who like on paper the name might do something for you, but like. I'm just going to be okay rolling the dice that this is not going to pan out, and I'm just going to drop him and see if I can figure out a better option. And you do it, even though it's not like the thing you want to do the most, you do it anyway and hope that it works out with somebody else. And that's what the Dodgers are doing. They go, we need pitching, but we don't need Noah Syndergaard. So that's where they're at.
Yeah.
If you had to guess, what arm do you think they go out and do get at this point? Now that Giolito's off the table. I mean, here's the
Mitch
question.
Keller. How you like that?
It's one that I hadn't heard.
That's pretty fancy, huh? Yeah. It's an off the radar name.
I like that.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing to consider or to ask. This is very, I mean, I know the offseason and the trade deadline are two different things, but we had this hope for the Dodgers that they would have made a bigger splash at shortstop than they did.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think that line of thinking applies to this deadline with pitching possibly, where like there are some arms out there, but maybe they're just not willing to part ways with any of their prospects in case they need to, or I would imagine they're planning to push all the chips in this offseason for Shohei. Maybe they don't make a splash or as big of a splash as maybe Dodgers fans would hope for, knowing that.
Yeah, it's possible for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't expect like a Scherzer or Verlander.
No.
But is Mitch Keller a rental? He would be a rental. Oh no, he's still got control. Never mind.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought he would have had control.
I don't know why I have him so much older than he is. He's not a free agent until 2026. Yeah, you might be giving up a lot there. But think of that rotation next year. If they do. Interesting. How about Michael Lorenzen? How about that? How about a lower key name? More affordable.
And presumably better output than what you're
Syndergaard.
getting from Noah Syndergaard. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, you could plug in really any name. It just comes down to how much or how little they're willing to give up as they prepare for this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think if they do anything of note this October, barring any catastrophic meltdown, I think anything they do is a bonus because even with as well as they've been playing, I don't think they're fully there. I don't think they're fully committed to the season because they've been trying to tamper it down. They've been trying to dial it back a little bit in preparation for these sweepstakes. So I would not be surprised.
Nice. That's all I'm going to say. It must be nice.
For
you to not go all in and still have Freddie Freeman and Mookie and Will Smith doing their thing.
You think it sounds crazy, but just look at how they went about this offseason.
Yeah. I agree.
And tell me that it's not a realistic possibility.
It's just like, must be nice, you know?
All I have to say, I would not be surprised if they fly under the radar in terms of the arms that they acquire by August 1st or don't acquire. I don't think there's any other major deals that we're missing at this point in time. Yet. Probably here in about 7 minutes. We could run through this Manfred extension real quick. That news broke. So Manfred's signed the extension to continue as Major League Baseball's commissioner through January 2029, which will also carry him through another round of collective bargaining. So
are we surprised? I don't know why. Yeah.
No, it was was it unanimous? I don't know if it was unanimous. Either way, I'm not surprised.
No. And I'm sure owners are stoked with these changes and all the stuff that's been happening. So you can argue that like it's not enough of a sample size. You know what I mean? So what was it, 3-year, 4-year extension?
The extension?
Yeah.
4 years.
Takes them to win?
2029.
And then the next agreement's in 2028, right?
No, the current CBA is set to expire after 2026.
Oh. Yeah. Whatever.
And by the way,
I've given up on like trying to get rid of him. I've given up on. It's just the way it is.
For those keeping track at home, if you care, he'll be 7 years old by the time his.
Keep the booze coming, man. Keep the booze coming on every draft / trophy presentation. That's all we can do.
We got booed. Not surprised. He got booed at Hall of Fame weekend again. I'm all about
just
that.
Doing our job. Yeah. Doing what we need to do. It's just, the owners are not us. They're not even baseball fans, so.
It's been getting a little chippy around Major League Baseball as of late. The Perdomo Machado run in, and then just last night.
Yes.
Like kind of after I had already pulled my notes for this episode together, the Astros and Rangers get into a little bit of a.
Loved both of it. Loved both of those
scuffle.
Scenarios. Yeah.
Look, the Machado one, that was on what, Tuesday?
I think so.
No, Wednesday maybe. Tuesday.
No, Tuesday, because in the Rangers Astros was yesterday.
Oh, right, it's Thursday. Yeah. So Tuesday. Like, look, I'm tired of hearing the kickback of like, well, if you don't want home runs to be pimped, then just be better, like throw strikes. Like, okay, we get it. Like, it's tired. Like, come up with a different response. I'm just getting tired of hearing about that. Equally though, I'm getting upset with these pitchers who are like
nobodies.
Well, not just nobodies, but are like shocked that at this point in time with this current state of baseball, that home runs are being pimped. And it wasn't even like, it wasn't anything outside of what Soto does on a regular basis.
Soto. I think he's earned the right to do whatever he wants. If he hits a ball 600 feet against you, it's Juan Soto. It'd be a different story if it was somebody else. You know what I mean? I understand that a little bit more if it's somebody else.
Sure.
It's Juan Soto. And I don't know who Perdomo is. No one's heard of him until this story. So, and I think the suspension made sense. It adds up for me. He stared down Machado afterwards. There was no remorse. It was like, I very much did this on purpose, and I'm looking at you while you're walking down the line.
Well, then he dropped the whole I wanted to come inside, the ball just got away from me after the game. Dude, stop. Can we just stop with like the PR? They have to go. These players have to go through like PR classes. I think like in the offseason.
Oh, they do, for sure.
Can we just stop with those? Like we're at the point now where you have so many camera angles, you have so many sources, you just have all these different perspectives and points of view to analyze the situation to where like, sure, we may not be inside Perdomo's head, but everybody knows what just happened and the intention behind it. So like spare me the...
He's staring him down. I kind of feel bad for Derek Shelton. Because it was like, he came out and argued.
Yeah, he's got to go out there and defend a nobody, knowing like it was intentional.
Right. And then he gets suspended for 1 game. But at the same time, you haven't earned anything. The Padres haven't earned anything. You've done nothing. So, like, pimping bombs, talking, I don't care what your name is, you're not in a position to be like, I'm big flexing on you in this league.
No.
You're a giant failure this year.
Yeah, yes and no. Like, I don't know. So the point in time, or the point of the video where it cuts to the ball like landing in the seats, up until that point, nothing that Juan Soto did from point of contact to when the camera cuts, nothing was out of the ordinary. It wasn't like, oh, like, whoa, this is out of character for Juan Soto. Unless he did something like rounding first base, I didn't see anything. So it wasn't even really a pimp. It was just like classic Soto, kind of like fall back on the heel a little bit, give it a look, and kind of make your way down to first base. I apparently heard that it was possibly due to his little like handshake celebration with Tatis when he got back to the top step. And I saw these people being like, oh, save that for inside the dugout. I'm like,
No. He
literally met him at the
Once you touch home plate, you're free to do whatever you want.
Like, come on. I mean, I'm like a relative traditionalist and stuff like that. But even I can look at that and be like, he literally was just like, they were dapping up at the top step, doing a little bit of a dance. Like that's Tatis and that's Soto. That's just the reality of it. So to sit there and like to drill Machado, and I heard him talking about it. Where was I don't even know where I heard this conversation being held, but they were talking about how it's possible that guys within that Pirates organization pulled him aside and were like, dude, don't do that because you're putting our guys at risk.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're a nobody.
Right.
And there was no need for this because nothing really warranted what you just did. So let's not do that again.
My only question is, what kind of watch did Juan Soto need to buy Manny Machado after that? Something nice, dude. I need something nice. I need a new TV. I need a new watch, something. Because I just wore 97, 98 off the back for you.
Yeah, give Machado a watch so he can flex even more than he did than the post game. Did you hear him talking about it after the game?
No.
Yeah, he was like, I guess I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, yeah, I guess people just don't respect people anymore. Like, especially a guy like me, 10 years in the bigs, 300. What did he say? 300. What did he call it? Basically, just saying like 300 home runs. He's like, I guess that doesn't mean anything anymore. I'm like, all right, Manny, like using this as a opportunity to kind of taste yourself a little bit. I mean, whatever.
Whatever works.
But
your season's shot, so whatever. Either way, Soto needed to hook it up. With the Rangers Astros, though, big fan.
I kid you not. I flipped it on 2 seconds before the pitch was thrown to Adolis Garcia. And I was like, oh, wow, bases juiced here. Like, he could light this thing up. Sure enough, made it 13-3. I'm like, okay. But I'm a fan of it.
You saw the other stuff happening before, right?
Sure.
You saw the back and forth. Jordan getting hit.
Lowe. Remind me. Lowe. Nathaniel Lowe.
He's a low. He's a low.
Yes, Nathaniel Lowe. He got run in on by Framber, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
Up and in a little bit. He did not like that. Yeah, a little bit of a chirp sesh going on.
I loved Odoli's like rounding third and like literally just it was sick. I'm a big fan. I like it. I like that like the Rangers are now at a point where they don't need to act like the little brother to the Astros anymore. That was fun. It's fun to watch. And like I don't know how many more times they play each other the rest of the year, but like if they meet up in the postseason, oh boy, you know this stuff's gonna carry over. You know
For
it
sure.
is. So I'm all about it.
This
Big
has
fan.
like Astros and Rangers fans may feel differently, but from like a non-Astros or Rangers fans perspective, this kind of feels like a Yankees-Rays rivalry where it's not the rivalry you would expect.
Yeah.
Or one that's really existed up until this point.
Mm-hmm.
But that it has potential for some fireworks. And I think if they do meet up, I very much believe that this will carry over. So
yeah.
big fan of that. Getting into our closing segments here, some fantasy players to keep an eye on. Will Benson. It's probably a name you haven't really heard of. He's with the Reds. He's rostered in 6% of leagues. He has seen last I checked, he has seen a 3.1% boost. He's had 31 points in the last 15 days as of Wednesday. But get this. Since June 1st, do you know who the OPS leaders with a minimum of 100 at-bats are across Major League Baseball?
How many names do I got to get here?
We got 5 names.
Oh, boy. OPS leaders? Are there any superstars on it?
It's almost all superstars, with maybe you could argue one of them's not as much of a superstar, but
I don't know. Well, Will Benson's in there, right?
Will Benson's there. Shohei Ohtani at number 1.
Sure.
Corey Seager at number 2. And Will Benson at
Look
3.
at that.
1.053 OPS since June 1st, which is 3rd in Major League Baseball. Behind him, Mookie Betts and Kyle Tucker. So to put
Goodness.
things into perspective.
Yeah. It's a good neighborhood to be in.
Yeah, so maybe keep an eye on him. You don't necessarily have to add him if you're coming up on your deadline and you need to make some space for some other moves. But if you maybe want a quick pop, he might be the guy to provide it. And my other name, I'm just the worst with names. Tanner, it's Bibby, right?
I think it should be Bibby, but I believe it's Bibby.
Tanner Bibby.
I think so.
It's just one of those guys where like it's not mainstream enough to where like you don't hear it as much on
Bibby would be ideal.
Yeah.
I'd be on board for Bibby, but I think I remember hearing it Bibby.
Okay, well,
which just sounds wrong.
Tanner, I'm going Bibby. I don't even care. Tanner Bibby.
Okay.
Of the Guardians, rostered in 33% of leagues. He has 74 points in the last 30 days. He's getting the start today. I don't even know when they play. They may be playing right now. Last time out, he went 7 deep with 0 earned runs, allowing 2 hits, 1 walk, and he had 8 Ks against the Phillies, who, as we all know, have been playing very solid ball as of late. His last 5 starts in order, he had points totals of 18 against the Brewers, 23 against the Cubs, 9 versus the Royals, 14 against Texas, and 28 against the Phillies. So outside of Kansas City, which oddly enough was his worst point total of the 5, he's putting up double digits, like significant double digits against significant teams. So
yeah.
Something to consider. He's also given up 2 or fewer runs in each of his past 5 starts, posting a 1.21 ERA and a 0.88 WHIP over that time. So those are 2 guys to keep an eye on. A series to keep an eye on this weekend. For me, we just got done talking at length about the Los Angeles Angels my series to watch. And, honestly, if the last 24 hours hadn't happened or things didn't fall into place the way they did the last 24 hours, I maybe wouldn't go this series because outside of what happened yesterday, it doesn't really excite me. Yeah. But the reason I want to keep an eye on this is because of what just happened. You say you're keeping Shohei, you go out and get you go out and get 2 arms. You're making it clear that you're going for this thing. Mm-hmm. I want to see how you respond the first full series post those comments against a potential playoff team. You're not going out and playing the Tigers. You've taken this stance now. Mm-hmm. I want to see how it holds up against a potential playoff team out of the East. Game 1, you've got Chase Silseth.
Good.
Versus Kevin Gausman. Game 2, who is making his return, I believe, after missing some time. Game 2, you got Reed Detmers versus Alek Manoah, who fared relatively decently his last outing. There were some questions after his second start when he came back of if they brought him back too early, but his last start out, he bounced back so. In Game 3, you got Tyler Anderson versus Jose Barrios.
I like that. It's a good little matchup. You're right. It's a good test, and it's like, hey, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it now. It starts now. It's like a new chapter.
Right. And I'm sure there's no doubt that Shohei is going to continue to produce, but I'm curious to see if there's any sort of change in that dynamic now that he feels like he's being committed to, he's being supported.
Yeah.
Things are being put into place around him.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will see. My matchup, I'm going Yankees O's in Baltimore. And hold on before we get all like, oh, you're so AL East biased. The reason I'm going to this, it's not because I'm a Yankees fan. It's not because I think the AL East is the best division of baseball. It's because that's
just a fact. It's not your opinion. Like, that's just the reality of it.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks for the backup there.
Sure.
I am doing this because this is the Yankee season. This weekend will define the Yankee season. If they lose this series, if they get swept, you can go ahead and assume that they're going to sell. They have to sell. This weekend will dictate how they proceed. It's going to dictate, and like, say what you will, if you love or hate the Yankees not being involved at a trade deadline as a buyer is very rare. It doesn't happen very often. So that's why I'm saying that this series is so important. On top of the fact, Aaron Judge is coming back tomorrow, Friday, set to make his return. So multiple reasons to watch, but I think this is important. So Yankees currently 2.5 back in the wild card. Game 1, you got Garrett Cole going against Grayson Rodriguez for the Orioles. Clark Schmidt going against Tyler Wells, Game 2, and then Sunday, Luis Severino against Dean Kramer. As if you're the O's, I mean, you got a 1.5 game lead in the division. Even if you lose this series, the Rays and the Astros are playing together. So it's like, you got to expect the Astros to beat up on the Rays just a little bit, even if it's, it's going to be, I'm not seeing a Rays sweep. You know what I mean? So like, even if the O's lose this series, I don't think it's going to be that detrimental for them. This is me just putting out positive vibes for the Yankees. So,
of course.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, I think it's a big weekend. This will tell us what, one of the biggest markets in baseball will be doing at the deadline, and that's important. So, yeah.
There you have it. You got anything else as we get set for another weekend of baseball?
I don't think
Last weekend before the deadline.
No, but catch us on Tuesday. We're going to be on Bleacher Report Tuesday at 12 Eastern, right? I believe
so. Yeah, I don't know where we're going to be able to find the stream, but
Yeah, we'll try to let you know, but it's going to be a live
there.
stream on Bleacher Report, talking deadline deals and stuff like that. And I think the when is it close? I think it's like 4 p.m.
Yeah, it's
Eastern,
usually
right?
4 Eastern.
Yeah, so right in the middle of it, I'm expecting stuff to be happening and like coming in as we're on there. But obviously back on Monday for a recording, but Tuesday if you want a little bonus coverage, yeah, we're gonna be on there.
Yeah, Monday we'll be updating you guys on deals that presumably will go down this weekend and possibly even day of. And then Thursday will be as usual, the kind of wrap up of everything that happened on deadline day and anything that maybe trickles through even after the fact, because we've seen stuff like that happen before too, where stuff falls through after the fact. So we will see you guys on Monday.
Don't go chasing curveballs.
We love y'all, and as always, looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.